like she is attractive, so therefore your instinct is to protect. So I
Right.
don't know if,
Yeah.
hopefully I don't get too in depth in that when I do the review, because that could ruin the whole pacing. But it is kind of interesting to just sort of like briefly think about.
I'm just interested that that was actually the developer's intent, and they actually ended up delivering on that.
Yeah, I can
What?
definitely see like this is not something that everybody is going to experience. Like I would be surprised if Tracy felt that way, just because I feel like there is a gender thing there. There is
Yeah.
some sort of a sexual basis for it. Not like a
Yeah.
lewd sexual basis, but just like in a your
Yeah.
instinct is to be like
Yeah.
this.
Like a nurturing kind of
Yeah.
instinct to. Yeah, I understand what
It's
you're saying.
based on gender. It's based on the sort of instinctual roles of the I don't know. I'm
Um,
just talking out of my ass here, but
just
that's just
to take it back a little bit, what I will say is that this I've played a ridiculous amount of this game in the last day. I think I'm pretty much done with the game. It does take a lot of deviations from the previous games, i.e., there's not much honest like tomb raiding in the game. There, a lot of the tomb raiding is optional. You kind of like stumble upon these tombs, and they all go towards scrap, which I don't know how she carries so much scrap in her. She has to have a pocket full of bolts at some point. Um,
yeah.
but they just the atmosphere of this game is like so beyond like what you see most people like the budget they had to have spent on this game has to be
There is
pretty
honest
considerable.
effort in this.
I
I
mean,
really do feel
yeah,
like even in moments where it's not really super polished, you just feel like that like maybe this isn't the most talented team, maybe this isn't Blizzard, maybe this isn't Valve, but you just feel like they had so much passion in this project that even if it's not super polished in some places,
uh-huh.
it's you just get kind of interested in it just because you do get that vibe. I
I
think
mean,
it's
just
very much
you
it's
have
very
to.
much dependent on playing the from the beginning and really seeing that progression in order to actually have that this sympathy and to have the immersion.
I mean, the progression is definitely there. I think it might be a little bit overhyped than it really is. I mean, the progression's there, but in like a there's never like a moment where like, oh my gosh, that's where everything snaps and this person switches around and decides they are going to like from the very beginning, this person is the kind of person that is going to endure nevertheless.
Yeah.
but but as far as like just like the way like there's such like a cinematic without like taking control away from the player kind of like touch to this game. Like there's so many scenarios in this game, and it happens beat by beat by beat, one after another. That I do think that Crystal Dynamics, and they've been doing Tomb Raider games for a long time. This is by far like them just like stepping it up to the plate and just really doing something that I didn't even think they were able to do.
Yeah, really. This is you really do feel like they're sitting in the studio like Tomb Raider is awesome. Why don't people recognize this? We're going to convince people, damn it. And so they made this game. It's just sort of like this. Maybe love letter isn't the right word, but just sort of like this final convincing argument that Tomb Raider can be relevant in the modern era and can be interesting and gritty and real and all the things that you associate with modern
Right.
gaming. I mean, let's face it, there's nothing inherently dated about Tomb Raider. It's just that they decided to stick with this cartoony caricature version of the character,
And then dated
which
mechanics at the same time. There was a mechanic scheme that they decided they were just going to adhere to, or everything else started moving along, and that's why Uncharted came along and it created like a total revision of the idea. And to be fair, I mean there are a lot of things that Tomb Raider takes from Uncharted and adapts to their game, but at the same time, there's this idea of like realism that we were talking about that Uncharted doesn't have. Uncharted is like an Indiana Jones game, and this is like at the same time, it's like Lost if it were even more real. Like that idea of survival is so much there.
yeah, they're definitely like you can't like say like this is this game is copying this game. They're really just feeding off of each other. I mean, art is like the Ouroboros the snake eating its own tail thing. It's you know it's very much you know a person inspiring a person, which inspires them back, and on and on. And this is how the craft improves over time, and it's great to see in action because this is definitely taking a lot of those ideas and just advancing it and giving its own twist and its own
Right.
style.
Yeah. I will say that once you guys get a little bit further, this game does not disappoint. It continues on this train, and I can't wait to hear when we talk next week and you guys have played a little bit more through it because it's seriously, and I don't say this easily, but it is definitely one of the better games of the generation. As it carries on, it's not as deep or it's not a 40-hour game, but what it does give you is so atmospheric and so strong that I would consider it one of the better games of the generation.
I just hope
I'm
that
surprised it even happened because I didn't see it coming from Crystal Dynamics of all people.
yeah, I didn't honestly, even though there was the positive critical reception, I wasn't my expectations weren't set super high just because I really didn't know what to expect. The thing I'm really curious about is I wonder if this is going to be like one of those early in the year games that's even if it's good, people just forget about it after the holidays arrive and all this new stuff comes out. Especially this year being the year of the next generation consoles. I mean, are we going to be talking about Tomb Raider in November? Like, you know what? That was a really awesome game. Hopefully we are, but I feel like
No, I see what you're saying. This definitely is in that period where games kind of get like forgotten, and then the games that come
gamers are
out
like
between
ADD
that
to
last
begin
season.
with.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's and the problem is that right now, I don't want to say like it's light on gaming right now because actually considering this how early in the year it is, there's a lot of games coming out.
Right.
It's kind of surprising, but it is kind of that time of the year where there's not usually a lot of big blockbusters, so we tend to like really hype even just the pretty good games. And
Right.
I'm not saying that Tomb Raider is only pretty good, but there's sort of that tendency to just gravitate towards the only interesting thing in the room at the time.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and I would say, as a fair assessment, the gameplay itself, combat is solid. I think like the actual like mechanic of running around and killing people is actually great. But I mean, aside from that, it's a pretty standard mechanic. But just the atmosphere of it is just so awesome. Every situation feels tense. Like you feel like you're kind of in that situation, and props to them because I mean that's a hard thing to
that's part of
consistently convey.
It's kind of interesting to me too that you would feel that, but then you don't get the same. I mean, I'm not like criticizing you or anything, but I'm just saying it's kind of interesting that you feel that intensity, but you don't feel that sympathy at the same time. Like this is like, oh my God, look at what she's going through. Like this is like
Right.
really tense. I can't believe like is she gonna make it or
I mean, at a certain point, I think
that.
like a lot of like because you have to understand this happens over the course of like fucking 12 hours. She takes a lot of shit, and at a certain point, it just becomes unbelievable. At a certain point, she's just getting nice soda, by the way. She just takes a lot of fucking beating. At a certain point, it's just like, yeah, she's getting hit again. I get it.
Yeah, I hope they don't overdo that, but
Oh, they do. Don't worry. She gets fucking hit a lot.
I'm just
More
I'm
than
just
any
thinking
one
back.
person can possibly endure.
I'm thinking back to that trailer that I saw with, like E3. It's just
They're just running
so
into trees.
ridiculous, over the top abuse. It's like my God.
And that's only towards like maybe like the second third of the game. I mean, until that point, she's endured all this other crap. It almost makes sense at this point because the trees are the least of her worries. Because at that point, she's been beaten up by so many things. Fucking trees, sure, whatever.
I'm actually surprised. Like I thought I had heard that they were taking that attempted rape scene out of the game. Or
It's still
something.
very much in the game.
It's still there. Yeah,
Yeah.
I got to that point. I'm like, wow, this is actually that was kind of frustrating too because I kept repeating that segment because
Yeah.
on the PC, I don't know how it is for consoles, but on the PC it shows the symbol, it doesn't show what you're supposed to press. So it
Hmm.
just shows a hand, or it
Yeah.
shows like an exclamation mark.
Hmm.
And I'm like, what am I supposed to press? And like
Yeah.
frantically, I had to look at the key bindings, but it was a little immersion breaking because I was like, after like 10 times of doing that segment, it was
Yeah, no,
like,
I had to
all
do
right,
it a
come
few
on,
times. Plus, at the same time, the great thing, just a quick side note, when you have big picture mode and your Xbox 360 controller, it makes taking screenshots so freaking easy.
oh yeah.
Ridiculously easy. I have like I was telling you earlier, I have a screenshot narrative of the entire game because I'm able to take screenshots so easy with that damn
That makes
controller.
things easy for me
It
later
makes the
on.
review. I mean, you pretty much get to pick from like the best freaking pictures possible.
Excellent.
All right, we'll talk some more about Tomb Raider next week, but that's it for us this week, guys. Brian, you want to take us out of the show and tell people what they should know?
All right. So everybody, hi. It's me, Brian. Anyway, so since we've moved to the live format, we're trying to encourage everybody to watch the show every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, or yeah. So
We should probably start encouraging them to do that at the beginning of the show because
Yes.
chances are if they're not watching, they're probably not going to wait till the end.
that's true. We should. But anyway, so if you like the live show, or if you ever miss the live show in the future, we will always have the record version available on Twitch and YouTube. And if you just want to listen to it in the car, we always have the MP3 version, which has much higher audio quality, which is pretty awesome. So it's worth listening to twice, I guess. So if you want to reach us, Randy is Cursing User. I'm Brian85FM. And Nathan is Nathan85FM. If you guys are still watching the live feed, we're going to have an after show and be giving away games. And if you guys are listening to this or watching this after, this is what you're missing out on. All right.
We're going to talk more Tomb Raider, guys. More Tomb
Yes.
Raider. We're going to have live
And be
Tomb Raider.
playing. So, anyways. So if you missed out on this week, be sure to tune in next week. All right, everybody. Later. And for those watching, we'll be right